I'm going live. You know what? I'll put my earbuds in. Forgot to do that. Here we go. Good. So the mic should be here now. All right, let's see. Who is here? Hello. Pixie was here at, well, around almost an hour ago. There was a Pixie. I remember a Pixie. Not in detail, but I remember. You know me, Pixie says. Yes, indeed. So hey there, it's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from the days of yore. Those who are here now, those watching later. Hey, Sneezer. I think you're the only one here now. That's cool. Oh, it says 2 people are here now. Who is the other? Is it Pixie? Is it someone else? Oh, it's Bloodnose. Or maybe Bloodnose is a third. Shalom, HN and Sneezer. Hello, Bloodnose. How you doing? I hope you're having a good evening or day. All right, let's dive in a few comments, and then I'll continue the chat from Wednesday. Shannon Crisp 911 asked, what are your thoughts on growing dreads with thinning, balding? I'm growing mine regardless. So I answered that it depends on one's purpose or goal, I guess. If it's for fashion or aesthetics, there might be more suitable hairstyles. And if it's for religious, spiritual, personal sort of reasons that are more interior, let's say, on the inside, then grow them regardless, right? The way he is. Eventually, it comes down to preference. What is it that I prefer to do? Different people have different temperaments and they're drawn into different things, and some people have more of a need to conform to societal expectations. Some people have less of a need. So it really comes down to you versus that. What is it that you want to do, and what is it that you are willing to do? Okay, let's see. There was, where was it? Right, BMXers. We were talking way back about the Ark at some point in the video, and he says, he left a comment, the Ethiopian Arks, right, we were talking about possible locations of the Ark of the Covenant, or those who say that it is in a certain location. And I mentioned the fact that there is a church in an Ethiopian Orthodox church, and it says that it houses the Ark of the Covenant, and that there are the guardians of the Ark of the Covenant, and they tend, at least from an interview I remember watching at the time, long ago, that they tend to lose their sight, their vision becomes dark. They become blind, at least to some degree, and they say it's because of their closeness and proximity to the Ark of the Covenant. So he says, BMXer says the Ethiopian Arks of the Covenant is flat on top, no cherubs or any sign of statues, at least the ones I've seen thus far. So I've only heard, I haven't seen, I believe, that I haven't seen an Ark of the Covenant, or what is purported, was that the word to be, the Ark of the Covenant by those who are displaying it. So it's flat on top, which brings about an interesting question, which is that it says that when Solomon built the temple and brought the ark, and the priests brought the ark into the holiest of holies, Kodesh HaKodashim, from where it was in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, to the permanent temple, it says that there are only the stone tablets. Ein ba'aron rak shnei luchot, right? Only the stone tablets. And there's a disagreement, a difference of opinion in our sages on whether or not the remnants, right, the pieces of the old tablet covenant, right, the 2 former tablets, the first ones that Moses smashed at the foot of the mountain, are they in there too? There are also 2 arks of the covenant. There's one which Bezalel wrought, and there's one which Moses built. Again, first tablets, second tablets. And as for it being flat on top, I think it could be that if they claim the Ark of the Covenant is flat on top with no cherubs or any statues, then their Ark of the Covenant, according to that, the one that they are claiming is there, is not the one that was in the holiest of holies, but the one that would go out to war, for instance, with the Israelite army. So, It could be the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the ark which Bezalel constructed or wrought. So let's see. I asked him the question is, are the stone tablets there? And he commented saying, whether there is something or nothing inside, there is nothing on top, not even a sign there was something, it's just flat, just like the shape of a roof, triangle, I think. Meaning just, so it can still be the Ark of the Covenant, but not the one that was housed in the holiest of holies and remained there. That's what I'm saying. Bloodnote says, missing the regulars, Robert Harrison and BMXers with dreads. So Neezer says it's not for display. Monks who don't live long protect it. Right, usually go blind, right? Exactly. That's right, that's right. That's what I heard as well. And that's what, again, in an interview that I saw, a documentary or two that I saw on different possible locations of the Ark of the Covenant. And I remember that one specifically because of that, because of the fact that the protectors, they usually go blind and they don't live long, correct? That's something, huh? This is, let me get this right, it's chamomile, lemon balm, and organic lavender. That's what it said on the packet. And this is an example of, let's say, what Shabbos means to me and what Shabbos is, you know? Not to pat myself on the back, just to make an example. This tea was recently purchased by my woman. It arrived, or she purchased it on Sunday. And I decided, as I sometimes do with certain things, I decided I won't, even though I wanted to drink some, I decided I won't have any, and I will have my first glass with this new tea that I've never tried before on Shabbos. That is indeed what I did. That idea of saving things for Shabbat and living for Shabbat is something that I first encountered in is it the Talmud, I think, where it's the Mishnah or the Talmud, likely the Talmud, where it says that, I don't remember who it was, that lived for Shabbos, meaning that when he would buy something good to eat, it, sort of spoilage permitting or whatnot, right? Freshness permitting, he would say, I will eat this on Shabbos. And then if during the course of that very week he found something better and more exquisite, and well, whatever it would be, something higher, like an upgrade to that piece of food or whatever it was, he would eat the one that he originally bought and he would save the latter one, right? This one, the better one for Shabbat. And it's a semi-custom of mine, I suppose, to leave things for Shabbat. I always leave something particular for the morning of Shabbat, something that leaving things and living for Shabbat is something that I connect with very deeply. And so this tea was just one example. So this is the second time I'm trying it. The first time was Shabbat at night. Very, very good. I like it. It's nice. It's nice. It's nice. It's so good to be here. It's so nice to be here. Okay, let's continue. Let's go with a bit of the chat from Monday. So let's see, where did I stop? I queued it up this time. I had a few minutes before and I queued it up. Okay. Bloodnose said, Ukraine versus Russia conflict is being escalated more by the United States. Well, Ukraine versus Russia is being escalated by, do you mean the fact that they're supplying them with weapons, or do you mean things that are going on behind the scenes, or do you mean both? I'm ignorant of all the politics and the interworkings of any conflict, really, definitely a foreign one. So I would love it, if you could explain, because you're here now, Bloodnose. You said this on Monday, but here you are on Wednesday, in the event that you're actually still here with us. Let's see. I hope Trump stops it, said Mr. Big. So yeah, Mr. Big, he wrote a few comments, and I only got to his first of several comments later in the chat, and right before I had to go. So as far as he was concerned, I wasn't answering him, which again is a given. If I'm reading them one by one, this is what happens. Trump is the one to change it all. Trump is the one to change it all, said Mr. Big. All right, I'm curious. I mean, I don't think Mr. Big will be here now, or he might be, who knows? But He may have been a one and done sort of user or viewer. But I'm wondering how people are saying that Trump is the one to change all. Or him, well, him, not people, him. Actually, not because I think it's wrong, but because I'm wondering how you think he will get that done, you know? So those of you who are Trump supporters, I don't vote, you know, but those of you who are Trump supporters, do you think he can change it all? Hello, my friend, said Ace. Is a trip to Jerusalem safe at the moment? Now, again, he asked this on Monday. I'll answer it now. Why, yes, it is. It definitely is very safe in Jerusalem at the moment. So if you want to come on a trip, it's not the best time, but when is? So with due caution and proper, measures taken as far as you're concerned, to the degree that you want to do them, or make them, and yeah, show up, man, show up and hit me up, and we'll have a coffee. Ariel said, back again while I can. Right, he was doing other things. There is a Tottenham FC-based channel whose hosts brings on their grandfather to comment on the games. Would love it if you did the same one day, Jonathan. Well, both of my grandfathers are dead, so if I did the same thing to comment, you mean, to comment on soccer matches, on British European football matches? It's a jest-like description, said Sneezer. It's not a real belly button, but serves much the same purpose and even acts similarly, right? So we were talking, what was it at the time that we were saying? That the belly button, I mentioned the belly button in connection to the divine revelation that is sort of associated with that middle part, the half point, which is the belly button. But I don't remember what we were talking about at the time. Ace said, can you speak Yiddish? No, I don't speak Yiddish, unfortunately. I do not. But I say that before I take on Yiddish, I would take on Arabic. And I've tried to take on Arabic in the past, and I had to leave. So I simply never went back to spoken Arabic, but I would definitely love to do that. And then maybe Yiddish. Can you read my comments, said Mr. Big. So yeah, I am now 4 days later. Sorry about that. Hey, I see on the phone here that James Bong is here, and Goosebumps is also here. Good to see you, people. Good to see you. Okay, let's continue. Oh, wait. The timestamp is over there. Okay, and here I am. Right. So Mr. Big said, מתי יבוא דמעותיהם של בני אלוהים שיפצו אותם כי הוא יבוא כשעולם חושך ונשים. I'm not getting the Hebrew. I'm not getting the transliteration. Maybe write it in Hebrew instead of transliterating it. That is what that is, right? It's English. It's Hebrew with Latin, right? English letters. Transliteration. Am I correct? Okay, let's see. So yeah, flag me. The at Hebrew Nazarite. Sneezer told Mr. Big. It didn't help him because I had to go at the time and I didn't get to it. Yes, I was way before the comments. And then I said goodbye. Okay, cool. So here we are. So James Bond says... Goosebumps said, go Christ. Yes, well, I'm not a follower of Yeshua, but indeed. Good for you. I like the enthusiasm. James Bong says, I'm the one who wants to be with you deep inside. I hope you feel it too. Waiting on the lines of greens and blues. Oh, just to be the next to be with you. Ah, yes. And that's what I said last. I don't know if you were here on Monday, Mr. Bong, but I mentioned To Be With You, and I mentioned the Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam cover, Wide World. Wide World? Wild World? Wide World. Anglifying it. Anglifying it. Yes, that's what it is. One thing I like a lot about HN, says Sneezer, he can at least appreciate what Jesus gives, will be a welcome follower once he meets him. If you say so, but I definitely, the first part of your sentence on what Jesus gives, people who believe in Jesus sometimes have a ton of enthusiasm, and like I've said before, I understand that desire they have and that call they have to spread the good word and to spread the news and have you heard and he's risen and it's like it's happening and he's here and that whole thing. I don't follow Yeshua, but I get it. I understand why people would want to say, hey, that Messiah, that dude, yeah, he's here. It's now. Let's go. Let's do this. I get it. I do. I have been fair. I mean, and that's also true. Forget Jesus or Messiah or kings or anointed ones. Simply anybody with strong religious conviction, I suppose. And yeah, the religion matters. It doesn't matter, man-made, divine mandated, whatever. But a person's enthusiasm with matters of faith and the spirit, I can appreciate that. I've been there. I am still there in certain ways. Definitely. So I can appreciate that, definitely. I'll say definitely one more time. Oh, I just did. Never mind. Hey, the burning element is here, as is the unleashed power of the pyramids, trademark. So you didn't answer my question, or maybe you did and it simply slips my mind right. Has it slipped my mind right now? But the unleashed power of the pyramids, did you actually trademark it? I'm ashamed to say I didn't check it out in the interim between, the last time we met. So tell me, is it trademarked indeed? And if so, what industry? The pyramids. That's a trip. All right, let's continue with some comments from the past few days. Wait. There was one that I wanted to read. Oh, wait, something happened here. Okay, never mind. I saw something that I didn't see when I was going through the comments earlier. Oh, come on, did I lose it? I don't think I lost it. Come on. You'll have to indulge me. Where is it? Oh, okay. This isn't what I wanted to read, but it's another one nonetheless. BMXer says, may I ask if you've seen Batwoman and what you thought about it? So I haven't seen Batwoman. I didn't know there was a Batwoman, so I didn't know. And here I haven't, did I read the comment? Okay, so yes, he's seen every single episode, he says. And he says, the reason I asked what you think about it is because in Batman there is Catwoman, and so we're used to that. What if there were to be a Catman all of a sudden, for example, he says? If there would be a Catman in this reality. And he says, I feel such a connection to cats, and I think they to me. So cats, if I'm not mistaken, the meow is specific to humans. Just today in the office during lunch, we were talking about the different meows, and 3 discernible meows, this one coworker said. One of them was, let me in. One of them is, help, I'm stuck. And one of them is, give me that tuna. So you can, BMXers continues and says, I love dogs and other animals too, but dogs, for example, are not very fond of me. Maybe because they usually don't like cats. But most dogs don't hate dislike me either. It's good to get on with cats and dogs. Of course, I understand those who don't like either. And yes, as for loving animals, it's fun to be living with an animal, and it's fun to be a human animal, and it's nice to be kinder to other animals. Ariel says, just usually too busy to join in the chat much. Ariel, I deeply appreciate, your viewership and your continued contributions. You could be doing, all of you people right here, right now, could be doing so many other things right now, basically anything, and yet you're here with me, and we're doing this, and it's live, and it's raw, and I'm broadcasting over the interwebs, drinking my tea in the middle of the, evening in Jerusalem, winding down after a day, and it's so lovely, and I deeply appreciate each and every one of you and your time and your kind attention. I don't take it for granted. So yes, Batwoman the series. I didn't know it was a series. Sneezer says Batwoman the series. I watched the first bit. It was too woke. He continues and says, I'm allergic to cats, and I still love to pet them. Usually stuffs me up good. Approach dogs with your palm exposed. That's right. Although I actually do it with the back of my hand. But like this is better? Okay. Let's do that. Now I know. Where are you originally from? Israel. Born and raised in Israel. I love all animals. It would be cool to live on a farm, James Bong says. So, I don't know if I love all animals. I'm very fond of some animals, and I do respect animals, but it would be cool to live on a farm to some degree. I'm sure that there are certain things I would not like about it, but yes, it would be cool to live on a farm. I enjoy, as I say, living with one animal, and having a doggy that lives with me. Hey, doggo, with us. To have many animals, all around you all day, basically, that would be pretty cool. Except not in the house, in that case. The dog would be an outside doggo. A homestead doggo, a farm doggo. Your live streams are amazing, says Goosebumps. Thank you, I appreciate the vote of confidence and the compliment. I don't think I've been here in a week or two, James Bong says. Good to see y'all. Much love and respect from West Kentucky. Baruch Hashem. Blessed be the name. Thanks, James Bong. It's lovely to be doing this, and I appreciate your viewership too. Yesterday, said Sneezer, I came across a dog that was overly friendly. The owner struggled, so I gave him some tips and then approached the dog thusly. It jumped at me a few millimeters from my hand, sniffed frozen. Then let me pet it. No, never the back. He says, never the back of the hand, said Sneezer. It may think you have food inside. Ah, I see. With a palm it knows there's nothing hidden. Well, it would be open, but so not like this, but just hanging. Are you appreciating all the veins? Some people dig veins. One of my kids was like, "Hey, you're pretty veiny." I'm like, "Okay, that's good." He likes veins. Well, to each his own. I like animals, said the unleashed power of the pyramids, that don't need much care, but I don't mind a cat. Oh, the dog had been abused and often attacks? Turns out that dog had been abused and often attacks. I see what you mean. That's not good. Animal abuse is not good. No. No, not good. ACL said... Oh, it's a long one, and I read it at the time, yesterday. Will I read it now? Yeah, I'll read it now. Let's see. ACL said this. He said, thank you for hosting the chat. I think there is a hidden meaning in Jonah. People say he was running from God, but actually the text is pointing out that no one can go down that road unless first called. The ship he gets on going to Jaffa actually means the congregation he joined to reform himself, like God was calling him to do. Reform his lower instincts, lusts, he writes, and animal instincts. It's not that he was fleeing to Jaffa, but didn't really know where he was going. All right. So according to him, according to ACL, Jonah's trip to Jaffa was running away from was reforming himself. So he ran there, but he knew what he was doing. After a while, he continues, he completes the things that the congregation provided and essentially quits, but is still there sleeping, right? So he boards the ship, there's the storm, and he goes down to sleep, right? The captain comes and wakes him. And he says, because he doesn't know what to do. Okay, so let's see. So at first, he knew what he was doing, but then he did not know what to do next. Okay, let's continue. He says, the fish represents, I enjoy it that you said fish and not whale. The fish represents absence of feelings, intentions, thoughts, empty-headed. This dark space is where the spirit appears. So absence of feelings, intentions, thoughts, being empty. This is very much also echoed in the Tao Te Ching. It's also very much echoed in the divine revelation emanation sphira named Malchut, which has no light of its own, but only gets that which is influenced and brought down to it, like the moon, right? It only reflects the light that is that is shining on it. This dark space, he says, is where the Spirit appears. The Ninevites, he continues, represent the lower lusts, those that don't know their right hand from left. Right? That's at the end, the final verse. And the animals are the instincts. And both of them fasted, right? The animals and the people. He wanted these gone. We wanted to be only at the top part of his mind, looking at, he says, with his third eye. A voice that is not his own internal dialogue, that speaks when he actively turns his own mind off. Okay, so past the internal dialogue, past the, how did he put it? Feelings, intentions, thoughts, right? All the noise and all the chaos. Past that, says ACL, the Spirit appears. And the lower lusts, he wanted them gone. That's why God commanded Jonah to go and do that. He reforms himself, and then he reforms them. If I'm understanding what he's saying correctly. He continues. Then the argument happens. And God says, are your lower lusts and instincts really that bad? Are your lower lusts and instincts really that bad? Are you talking, which argument? And first, you didn't mention the prayer. The fish that you mentioned, right? What did you say? You said the fish represents absence of feelings, intentions, thoughts, empty-headed. But after 3 days in that big fish, Yonah davens, right? Yonah prays a prayer, right? He says a prayer, and is then spat back on the land. So I can understand what you mean, right? For 3 days, empty yourself, the Spirit appears, prayer happens, and then you're able to go back and integrate that which you learned in the fish and do it over there in Nineveh. But where does it say, are your lower lusts and instincts really that bad? I'm not following that, but let's continue. He says, the east wind is the most bitter, hatred of life, worst hopelessness, full of cursing. So the east wind, right? Ruach Kadim, the east wind. Ruach Kadim Charishit, right? A subtle, a low east wind, a soft east wind. That's what it says, at least I know, translating on the fly from the Hebrew. And the east, that's where enlightenment comes from. That's where the sun rises. The east is closely associated with Tiferet, with spirit, wind as an element, right, of the 4 elements. It might be bitter in the sense that it's more desert-like, but I don't think it's hatred of life, and I don't think that it's hopelessness, because wind, right? The different elements, they have some of each other. This is brought down in different books, and I know it from Pardes Rimonim. Right, for all intents and purposes, let's say fire and water, earth and air, right? So fire and water. Fire is hot and dry. Water is wet and fluid, right? And liquid. Is wet and cold. Hot and dry, wet and cold. And we have a bit of that in each of the other elements, the other 2, where earth is hard and dry, and the air is dewy, if you will, right? It has an element of water to it. And it's, let's put it this way. Never mind. No, never mind. Let's not go there. So let's see. So you say hatred of life, hopelessness, full of cursing, and I disagree in that sense. The east wind is a kind of balance between, let's say, hatred of life and love of life, if you're taking those extremes. Okay, let's continue. I have been trying to understand the plant and gourd, what they represent. I can't tell you offhand what they represent. I did fairly recently read Jonah on Yom Kippurim, on the Holiday of Atonement. It's the Haftarah, right, of the in Mincha. If I'm right, in Mincha, yes. Let's continue. Oh, so I answered him and I said, I hope to address your comment when I'm less tired. So I did so now. I still want to think about the east wind, and I still want to consider the plant and the gourd, right? The kikayon and what they would represent in this context of what you said, right? Not necessarily a midrashic or otherwise orthodox represent interpretation or tradition, but in this context of what you said, I'd like to think about it more. Okay, let's go back to the chat. Hey, Splash Fuzz is here. Hope you've been well. I've been busy. It's good to be busy. Hopefully you've been busy with very good things. Hopefully you've been busy with things that are worthy of your time. Let's continue. The chat here says, says the unleashed pyramid, the unleashed power of the pyramids. Who do you think is man's best friend, a dog or a horse? Well, I'd have to say doggo in this day and age. Back then, it may have been a horse. Once a horse befriends, it's for life, said Sneezer. A horse is better. I think so too. Sneezer says that interpretation of Noah is true, if not wholly true. Well, I'm assuming you meant Jonah. I think Noah is one of those allegorical parts and well translated. Our lower lusts and instincts are there for reason, but we are given minds to ponder when and where, and a heart to feel right from wrong. Yes, they definitely serve a great purpose. It's what keeps us moving, you know? Yes, we're given both. We definitely are given both. East beginning, west wisdom, said Sneezer. Hey, Robert is here. What's up, brother? He says, brother. Hey, what's up, Robert? And KJB is here. Bro, do you know what atbash is? Yes, there are many different ways of using the Hebrew letters in order to discern certain meanings from verses and to arrive at certain names of divine revelation and emanation. And this is done in rearranging Hebrew letters and giving them their numerical value, the gematria. There are, 9 different ways of gematria, right? Gematria gdola, gematria ktana. There are different ways of using the Hebrew letters, and atbash is one of them. That is where aleph is switched for taf, bet is switched for shin. In other words, the first one for the 22nd one, and the second one for the 21st one, and so on and so forth. They switch. And usually when letters are linear in their nature, it has to do with, let's say, with divine influence coming down. And when it's reversed, or when it's non-linear, it's about it going from here up. So I know atbash in the sense of that it's a way of discerning and learning, but yes, I know from Pardes Limonim what it is. Sneezer says to KJB, the chat maybe have gotten filtered by YouTube. I only see that one. Wait, did he say something? I didn't notice. Maybe I missed it. Ariel says, why would anyone add the story of Yonah to the Tanakh if they wanted people to take everything literally? How could anyone else verify the accuracy of his story? Well, okay, you know what I think about it, right? They canonized them for a reason, and whether or not it actually happened and was accurate is beside the point for me at this point. But why add the story of Yonah to the Tanakh? I can think of a couple of reasons off the top of my head. If they wanted for things to be taken literally, no. I guess not, but that's the Tanakh, literal and not literal. Robert had, right, many layers. Robert says, still loving the book of Ezekiel. Wow, just the multiple vision he had with the elders of Judah around him. Very cool. Yes, yes. V'ziknei Yehuda yoshvim lefanai. I remember that one. Ariel says there are many allegorical parts, not just the prophecies. I'm bad with the names, said Sneezer. Robert says, was the book of Ezekiel written the Israel in Yerushalayim of exile? Well, as you know, before the first exile, right? Not Assyria, right? I'm talking about Judah. Babylon, before Nebuzaradan the general came and burned everything to the ground, there were, I want to say, what is it, 10,000? I think 10,000 people. And was it Yehoiachin? Yes, Yehoiachin, the king of Judah, and 10,000 of the finest of Jerusalem and the surrounding areas were exiled before the temple itself was destroyed. And Tzidkiyahu, I think his name was Mataniah, if I'm not mistaken, and then he renamed him Tzidkiyahu. Nebuchadnezzar named him Tzidkiyahu. And then, later, Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan did their thing. But there was a time when the book of Ezekiel and 10,000 other folks were exiled to Babylon. I agree, Sneezer, says Ariel. Not everything is meant to be taken literally, in my opinion. Yep. It's written directly somewhere, too. I forgot how and where, said Sneezer. The Unleashed Power says, I'm looking forward to learn Hebrew, but I'm not sure how and where to start. Well, as I always mention James Larisha in this context, because he managed to do it, and from what I can gather, do it well. I haven't heard from him in quite a while, but his Hebrew is spot on, from what I remember. And he had time to do it because he was incarcerated. Not that I'm, as always, I'm not saying you need to be incarcerated. Don't do that. But yeah, I don't know where to start either. I wouldn't know. Start at birth. Start in the womb. So Neither says to the burning element, that's what the Torah was made for. So wait, the burning element. You were answering him about Atbash, or is it yet again something that was censored or that I missed? God can do all things, said Sneezer. If God wants some fish to house a man, it can. Oh, I definitely agree that the Creator can do whatever he wants. I won't say it didn't happen, but I take it allegorically. Okay, I hear you. I hear what you mean. Yeah, both of them exist. Both of those things coexist as far as I'm concerned. Robert says, I think God said in Ezekiel in the temple, the people had their backs facing the altar and their faces worshiping the sun, which angered the Lord. Yes, it's in one of the first chapters. And they would, and they had their pipes, right? Is that Jeremiah? Is it Yirmiyahu? Yozniah ben Shaphan, right? Ish miktarto biyado. I'm confusing the different prophecies, the different prophets and the prophecies in my mind right now. But yes, they had their backs to there, and they were bowing down to the other side, showing their backsides to the altar, or to the, or was it to the holiest of holies? I don't remember now. And I do remember a commentary that had to do, I think Rashi, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki brings down a commentary in one of the prophecies where they would bow down with their behind pointing in the wrong direction, that it had something to do with their, with the gas that they would pass and how it would be part of their worship. Okay. It's funny how everything angers God in the Old Testament. God doesn't feel anything but love from understanding. Well, once again, the revelation of God that we call anger, the revelation of God that we call judgment, that we call vengeance, right? The sword that avenges the breaking of the covenant, as it says in Ekev or Bechukotai, one of them. God doesn't feel anything, so says you. I have no idea. I don't know God. But there are different revelations of God, and those revelations, they are right? We can see them in ourselves since we are that image of God, and we also have, right? We have anger, and we have, well, what would it be? Well, the ability to quell anger and to be serene. And that's why God is anthropomorphized in such a way. Robert says, have you ever had to do counseling therapy during tough parts of your life? Yes, I was in therapy for 3 years, almost 3 years, right after we had the first kid. A few months after we had the Crown Prince, I got into therapy. And we went back again as a couple for a few sessions a few years later. So I enjoyed the individual therapy and I enjoyed the few sessions of couples therapy. Hey, my woman is here. Howdy, ma'am. Howdy. James Bond says, I just prevented a crazy driver from slamming into an Amish buggy. Woohoo, a mitzvah. Wow. Thanks for doing that, man. That's important. It's a good thing you were there. Got my good deed in today. Quit typing and drive. Quit typing and drive, maniac, says Sneezer. Sneezer says to Robert, never during, only after. He says to Robert, what? Wait, what? It was a righteous anger. He didn't want Israel hurting, said Robert Harrison. Right, many times in the Old Testament, God shows a face of anger in order to get someone or the people, a prophet, a leader, right, to counter it and bring things back to balance. Like with Moses, right, discovering new ways of bringing balance and divine revelation into the world. It's like many times in screenwriting where they say if you put enough stressors on your character, their true colors will shine. Meaning, if you want to flesh out a character and if you want to, let's say, flush out the traits that characterize this character in the beginning and with not a bunch of exposition, then you immediately put your character, whoever it might be, in a difficult situation. And that's when, in action, things are brought to the surface, and you can see what type of person that is. And the idea of telling Moses, I'm going to wipe them all out, I tells you, I'm going to wipe them all out right now. And Moses is like, yo, God, just chill, man, chill. What about this? What about that? Remember that? Come on. Bringing things into balance. Being co-creators of this reality. We are the image of God. I'm not driving, I'm at my house, says Bong. Good for you. Happened basically in my front yard. Sneezer says to Robert, I'm glad everyone's okay, man. Sneezer says to Robert, so God didn't know how to correct their path? Without anger, I mean, he says. My comments are disappearing, says Goosebumps. Oy, that's too bad. Sneezer told him, yeah, YouTube does that to me too. Did you say Jew? Winky face. He knew how to guide them, says Robert, but there's free will. Goosebumps says, do you believe current movies and shows have strayed too far from his holy light? Well, I'm not much of a maven in any movies or shows, let alone current movies or shows. I appreciate the lovely reactions. I see smiley faces. That's nice. It's nice to see. So, have strayed too far from his holy light? I believe that there are movies and shows, current and former, that do that, and I believe that there are shows that are able to not stray that far. But what do you mean when you say holy light? What is this holy light that you speak of, Goosebumps? Can you please tell me? And he said to Sneezer, I believe it was the word media. Voila. Sneezer says to Robert, changing course only ever needs truth, not tyranny or force. Bye, says my woman. Bye, dollface. Robert says, yes, but I read today in Tanakh that Israel was turning against emet, truth, and saying false prophecies. There are always false prophets, which is why when Moses gets the laws of the prophets, the basic ones anyway, one of the questions, right? And if you say, how do we know the prophet that is righteous from the false prophet? It's right there in the Torah, meaning it's obvious that it would probably happen, or at least that there's the potential of it happening. I say potential because there are a couple of things that, according to our sages, did not happen, like the cursed city, the wayward city, and the wayward son. Sneezer says to Robert, God's prophets know what to say to make whatever change is needed, usually far, far after them. The prophets know. It's right, it's like going into some kind of trance and something just like you, exactly in the same way that you have to vomit or go to the bathroom. The prophecy needs to come out. It's wrong for a prophet to stifle his prophecy, and I think it's a capital punishment. I think it's punishable by death, according to Rambam, or maybe Rambam brings down that as an opinion. I don't recall what the halacha is, but I think that a prophet that stifles, right, and chokes down his prophecy and doesn't prophesy is to be put to death by the Sanhedrin. By his holy light, I mean his teachings, his lessons, his essence. So I don't know God. So I don't know what his teachings, his lessons, and his essence are. I know what is brought down in Torah. I know what is brought down in the prophets. I know what's been brought down through our sages. I know what's been brought down even, to some degree, even right now, in this very moment, things are coming down. And it's all revelations of God. And you can find everything in the Torah, the good and the bad. This is a world of knowledge of good and evil, after all, and everything is represented in it. So if you say, let's say for the sake of argument, that you consider the Bible, or at the very least Torah, the 5 books of Moses, to be holy, and by light you mean teachings, lessons, and essence, I think that if you cherry pick verses, you could find arguments that would say we are getting closer, and arguments that are saying we are getting further away from these teachings. But no matter what the case may be, it comes down for me to the individual. Shows and movies notwithstanding, the individual. Put it this way, what is it that you choose to consume in ways of content and shows and movies? That would be the best idea of gauging whether or not those shows, that content, these movies have strayed away. Do they sort of correlate or coincide with your straying away as far as you're concerned by your own definition? Like I said, comes down to the individual. Robert says, or they would say Ezekiel's prophecy is years down the road. Well, part of why certain prophecies were canon and yet were canonized and kept for posterity is because they had some relevance here and now, be it something in the past that has transpired that we can learn from, or be it something that is yet to happen that we need to be seeking, that we need to be longing for, that we need to be embodying and trying to bring about, as the case may be. So down the road and not for us now, said Robert. Sneezer told him, though the stream tells no lies, the dishonest man standing nearby still hears them. Yes, that's right. I love that phrase. I do love that phrase. Sneezer says there will likely always be people who misunderstand. How else or even why would we learn? So, if I'm understanding you correctly, Sneezer, you're saying that, well, like you say that at first there's only misunderstanding, and understanding comes in due season, right, in the course of time. But according to you, you're saying that misunderstanding, it doesn't simply exist, it is the very thing which calls to understanding. How else or even why would we learn? Which means that you need to know, or that there is something else to seek. Do you see what I'm saying here? So there will always be misunderstanding, right? It's all a duality. I hear what you're saying. Ariel says, I believe that certain media can cause harm to people, so yes, it can do, in my opinion, goosebumps. Yes, It can, and it can do the exact polar opposite of whatever it is that you're thinking of. It's there. Goosebumps says the cookie cutters need to be educated. Their teachings are not pure. Their lessons are not righteous. I follow him and him only, says Goosebumps. Well, the need to be educated, that's a slippery slope as far as I'm concerned. Now, what do you mean by their teachings are not pure and the lessons are not righteous? Like more precisely, not specific shows, but what are the values and what are the well, what is it that you see, these lessons, these teachings? Can you expand on that? Senizer says, and that you don't see there is something else to seek is why we are forgiven automatically of most things. They aren't our fault, though sometimes we're particularly ignorant, and that takes earning. Like me. Ariel says, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yes. So Goosebumps agreed, and Ariel says, having said that, it all comes from the same source, in my opinion. Yeah, and it has to do with right who you who are consuming this media, you who are getting it from whatever source it is. Bloodnote says my comments are not getting through on YouTube. I'll try another day. Sorry to hear that, man. Wait, you know what? It's on top chat. I'll go to the live chat. Let's see if there's anything there. Does it change? I don't think so. No, HN, you're in the belly of the beast, in my opinion. It will be very, very hard for you to see. Yeah, I suppose I am. On that note of being in the belly of the beast, it's almost been an hour, so this beast is going to say goodnight, and thank you for joining me. God willing, I will see you on Friday. This has been lovely. I deeply appreciate your time and your kind attention. It's so much fun to be with you. Let's have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful continuation of this week. Looking forward to Shabbos. Hi, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for being here with me. Catch you later.